And after a while, I don't know how long exactly, but Dr. Goodall spent most of her time watching them from a distance, began to interact with her fellow primates. And last night, that happened to me, too. Because when Donald Trump gave a crowd in Indiana, Pennsylvania, yet another review of my performance at the Academy Awards.
Remember the Academy Awards? I said how he's the worst host in the history of the Academy Awards. And this stupid guy goes up, and just before the Best Picture of the Year, the show is almost over. They're waiting for the Best Picture of the Year. He gets up and he says, and his wife said, please don't do it. Please, darling, don't go out. His manager said, don't do it. I have to do it. He goes out and reads my truth to the entire audience right before the best prime time, the Best Picture. And it said basically, he is the worst host in the history. He reads the whole thing. And then I think he said something like, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me, or some crap like that. I said, he's one of the dumbest human beings ever. He should have listened to his wife. What a dope.
Hey folks, and welcome to another jaw-dropping video of Jimmy Kimmel. Hilariously mocks Trump. Jokes about Donald Trump's association with Jeffrey Epstein have become a darkly comedic staple in late-night shows, political satire, and social media, though they walk a fine line between sharp critique and morbid humor. Comedians like Trevor Noah, John Oliver, and Seth Meyers have tackled the topic not for cheap laughs, but to highlight the troubling proximity between a man accused of sex trafficking and a former U.S. president who once called Epstein a terrific guy and boasted about flying on his infamous Lolita Express. Trump says he barely knew Epstein, Trevor Noah once joked on The Daily Show. He says they only hung out at parties, Mar-a-Lago, and on a plane full of underage girls. So, normal friendship stuff. He paused. You know you're in bad company when Bill Clinton is the one people keep saying, well, at least he didn't stay overnight. The audience erupted, not just from laughter, but recognition. The absurdity wasn't the joke. It was the truth. John Oliver took a more forensic approach on Last Week Tonight, noting that Trump and Epstein were both part of the same elite New York social circle in the 1990s and early 2000s. They were friends, Oliver said, or as close to friends as two rich men with comb-overs can be when they're surrounded by models half their age. He played a clip of Trump in 2002 telling New York Magazine, "I've known Jeff Epstein for a long time. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side." Oliver stared into the camera. That quote is like a Russian nesting doll of red flags. Open it up and there's another one saying, "This man is a predator." Then another that says, "And so is he." Seth Meyers has mocked the timeline too. Trump says he cut ties with Epstein in 2004 or 2005 because he was a pervert. Which is great. You're morally opposed to child exploitation. But also, you were friends for years. You partied together. You both bragged about dating much younger women. How did it take you until 2005 to realize he was a pervert? Was there a moment? Like, wait, you flew in girls from high school? That's where I draw the line. Even Jim Carrey, in a 2024 monologue, turned it surreal. Trump says he only went to Epstein's island once. But somehow his fingerprints are on the jungle gym, the grotto, and the book How to Disappear Completely. He mimicked Trump. I was there for one night. Yeah, and the Titanic was just stopped in the water for a minute. The humor, while biting, serves a purpose: to underscore the lack of accountability. No comedian claims Trump was involved in Epstein's crimes. Those allegations remain unproven and legally unsupported. But the jokes focus on the optics, the hypocrisy, and the ease with which powerful men move in circles where exploitation is ignored as long as the champagne flows. And then there's the recurring punchline. If Epstein's little black book is evidence, Trump's just lucky his number wasn't written in disappearing ink. Ultimately, these jokes aren't about accusing Trump of criminal behavior. They're about questioning judgment, character, and the culture that allows such associations to flourish unchecked. In a world where truth is often buried under layers of denial and legal maneuvering, comedy becomes a way to ask the question no politician will. What exactly were you doing at that party? And if the answer...
His sons again. Wow, do you think he's flirting with me? What is this? When I die, I would like that to be the clip they play at the Emmys in memoriam montage. He even worked my wife in there. Should I be worried that Trump has mentioned my wife more times at his rallies this year than his own? I also want to point out the Oscars were more than 6 months ago. He's still stewing over this joke. He keeps bringing it up, which I don't mind at all. In fact, I love it. I just wish he would quote it correctly. I didn't say, ha, 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 he thinks he bothers me.
In a sharp and humorous response to Donald Trump calling him one of the dumbest human beings ever, comedian and political satirist Trevor Noah didn't take offense. Instead, he leaned into the insult like a seasoned pro, using it as a springboard for a blistering monologue that turned the jab into a full-scale takedown of Trump's ego and lack of self-awareness. Speaking on The Daily Show, Noah opened with a grin. So, Donald Trump called me one of the dumbest human beings ever. And I have to say, sir, with all due respect, I think you're overestimating my competition. The audience roared. Being the dumbest human being ever? That's a tough title to win. You've got people who microwave water to boil it. You've got guys who fall off riding lawnmowers. I've got a long way to go. He then flipped the script. But seriously, the man who said "Kav Faith" is calling someone else dumb. That's like a GPS that says recalculating every 5 seconds, lecturing a bicycle on how to steer. Noah reminded viewers that Trump once claimed wind turbines cause cancer, that he thought the haters and the losers were the only ones who disliked him, and that he believed he could win the Nobel Peace Prize for doing nothing. And he's questioning my intelligence? Noah asked. Bro, your entire presidency was a live IQ test, and you failed it on national television. Noah didn't stop there. He mocked the irony of Trump, a man who brags about being a stable genius, attacking comedians instead of policy critics. He doesn't go after scientists. He doesn't go after journalists. He goes after me, a guy who uses jokes and a fake news desk to make a point. That tells you everything. When your strongest opponent is a guy with a microphone and a hoodie, maybe you're not as powerful as you think. He wrapped it up with a broader message. Trump calls me dumb because I say things he doesn't like. But that's not an insult. That's a badge of honor. If speaking truth to power makes you dumb in Trump's world, then I'll wear that dumb hat with pride. Just not a red one. It clashes with my skin tone. The segment went viral, praised for its wit, timing, and ability to deflect personal attacks with intelligence and humor. Rather than being rattled by the insult, Noah used it to expose the absurdity of Trump's worldview, one where facts are optional, criticism is treason, and the loudest voice wins, even if it's saying something completely made up. In the end, Noah didn't just respond to the insult, he transcended it. Because while Trump may have called him dumb, millions of viewers understood the real lesson. Sometimes the smartest thing you can do is make people laugh while they realize they've been lied to.
Grisham says that during the G20 summit in 2019, Trump told Vladimir Putin before their meeting, he said, okay, I'm going to act a little tougher with you for a few minutes, but it's for the cameras. After they leave, we'll talk, you understand? This is not something a president says to another world leader, especially Vladimir Putin. This is something Hulk Hogan would say to Andre the Giant before WrestleMania.
During a bold and uproarious monologue on The Daily Show, Trevor Noah made headlines by becoming the first late-night host to fully weaponize the now infamous detail that Donald Trump underwent a colonoscopy during his presidency, a moment that had been briefly mentioned in a 2019 press briefing but never explored for comedy until now. Donald Trump recently said, "I'm one of the dumbest human beings ever." Noah began, adjusting his glasses with a smirk. And I was like, sir, with all due respect, you were unconscious for 8 minutes while a camera went up your, well, let's just say your rear end was the only part of you that stayed awake. The audience erupted in laughter as Noah leaned into the taboo with surgical precision. No other host has touched this story. No one, not because it's not funny, but because they're scared. But let me tell you, if you're going to insult my intelligence, I'm going to remind the world that your first official act as president was to take a nap during a medical procedure that involves someone checking your back door for national security threats. He joked that the event had all the drama of a State of the Union. For 8 minutes, Mike Pence was in charge of the free world. That's not a transfer of power, that's a game of musical chairs with nuclear codes. Then, with mock solemnity, we don't know what happened in those 8 minutes. Maybe Trump dreamt of winning the Nobel Prize. Maybe he finally understood climate change. Or maybe, just maybe, he realized that the only thing rising during his presidency was his risk of polyps. Noah also poked fun at the secrecy surrounding the event. They didn't even tell the public what was happening until after it was over. The president is under anesthesia. That's not a press release, that's the opening line of a horror movie. The president is unconscious. The vice president is nervous. And the nation is holding its breath. He added, Trump brags about being a stable genius, but the only stability he's shown lately is in his colonoscopy results. No cancer found. That's the highest praise he's gotten in years. Pushing the bit further, Noah imagined a classified briefing. Mr. President, we have intel from deep within, and I mean deep. He paused. They found nothing, which honestly tracks. The monologue was instantly celebrated for its audacity. While other hosts had skirted around the topic, Noah didn't just go there. He performed a full comedic colonoscopy, complete with prep jokes. Even his enemies weren't ready for that kind of flush. And punchlines about transparency. The only thing clearer than his bowels was the fact that he's not fit for office. Critics praised the segment not just for its humor, but for using absurdity to underscore a deeper point. The unseriousness of Trump's approach to the presidency, where even medical procedures became political theater. And in doing so, Noah proved once again that no topic is off limits, if you've got the guts to handle it.
Saint Fatty had an interview with Fox News yesterday, and apparently he's still stewing about a joke I made about him at the Oscars.
What is up with you and Jimmy Kimmel? Because during the Academy Awards you posted, has there ever been a worse host than Jimmy Kimmel at the Oscars? Less than an average person trying too hard. And he then read that on the air and then took a crack at you. You getting even with him.
And what else did I say? I said some other pretty good things there.
What were you getting even with
George
him for all his anti-Trump jokes?
George Slappadopoulos.
Yeah, so proud of himself for typing out George Slappadopoulos.
During a sharp monologue on The Daily Show, Trevor Noah hilariously dissected Donald Trump's furious reaction to a lighthearted joke Jimmy Kimmel made at the Oscars, turning the former president's outrage into a masterclass in political absurdity. Kimmel, hosting the 2024 Academy Awards, had quipped that the Oscar for Best Picture should go to the most dramatic comeback story of the year, Donald Trump's mugshot. The line earned laughs, applause, and a knowing glance from the camera. Typical awards show fare. But Trump, watching from Mar-a-Lago, reportedly went ballistic, blasting Kimmel on Truth Social as a low-rated loser and the unfunniest man on television. Noah seized the moment. So Donald Trump got mad at Jimmy Kimmel for making a joke at the Oscars, he said, feigning disbelief. You know, the one night a year where the whole point is to make jokes? Apparently, he forgot. Or maybe he thought it was a deposition. He mocked the intensity of Trump's response. He didn't just disagree. He didn't just roll his eyes. He launched a full-scale social media war over a 10-second punchline. That's not being offended. That's being allergic to laughter. Noah then imagined the scene at Mar-a-Lago. Trump sitting there, tanned, suited, probably eating a well-done steak, and Kimmel says mugshot, and suddenly it's personal. Like he forgot he posed for that photo. He looked right at the camera. He even fixed his hair. If that's not asking for a joke, I don't know what is. He added, Kimmel didn't even say it was ugly. He just said it was iconic. And honestly, he's not wrong. That mugshot is everywhere. On mugs, t-shirts, Halloween costumes. Meanwhile, Trump's face is on a coin that's worth less than the metal. Noah contrasted Trump's sensitivity with the usual targets of late-night comedy. Other presidents get roasted. Obama laughed when Seth Meyers made fun of his ears. Biden jokes about his age. But Trump, he treats a joke like a 5-alarm fire. He's not just thin-skinned, he's see-through. He also pointed out the irony. Kimmel made one joke. Trump responded with 17 angry posts, 3 campaign ads, and a rally where he spent 20 minutes talking about it. At this point, Jimmy Kimmel didn't just win the joke. He won the week. He won the month. He's winning the election by default. Wrapping up, Noah delivered the final punch. If you can't take a joke at the Oscars, maybe you shouldn't be running for president, or hosting a reality show, or existing in a world with satire. Maybe just stay in the bunker and watch reruns of The Apprentice, the version where you win. The segment went viral, praised for turning a petty feud into a broader commentary on Trump's inability to handle criticism, and the power of comedy to hold leaders accountable, one laugh at a time. Because in the end, as Noah reminded viewers, you can ban a comedian from your rallies, but you can't stop the world from laughing at you.
House pressured Disney to censor Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Disney is the company that owns ABC, our network, and Jimmy Kimmel is me, so obviously I was interested in seeing what it was. But according to the story, in 2018, Donald Trump, who was at that time president of the United States, was so upset about my jokes that I made about him, he directed his staffers at the White House to call Disney to tell them to rein me in. The report says at least 2 calls were made from the Trump White House to, quote, convey the president's anger regarding Kimmel's monologues and jabs. In other words, President Karen demanded to speak to my manager.
There is no factual basis for the claim that Donald Trump pressured Disney to censor Jimmy Kimmel or The Daily Show. While Donald Trump has frequently criticized late-night comedians, especially Jimmy Kimmel and Trevor Noah, for mocking him, there is no evidence that he ever wielded political or corporate influence to pressure Disney, ABC, or any media company into censoring Kimmel's content. Trump's feud with Kimmel began in 2017 after Kimmel's emotional monologue about a sick child and healthcare, which sparked a wave of public support and drew Trump's ire. Trump responded by attacking Kimmel on Twitter, calling him the unfunniest and biased, and falsely claiming Kimmel's ratings were tanking. He later criticized Kimmel's hosting of the Oscars, particularly a 2024 joke about Trump's mugshot, which Trump called disgusting and unpresidential. However, these were public complaints, not formal attempts to suppress speech. While Trump has a well-documented history of attacking the press and using rhetoric like enemy of the people, no credible reports, internal documents, or whistleblower accounts suggest he launched a campaign to pressure Disney, Kimmel's corporate parent through ABC, to silence him. In fact, Kimmel continued hosting Jimmy Kimmel Live without interruption throughout and after Trump's presidency, frequently making jokes about him with no signs of censorship. If such pressure had occurred, it would have sparked major backlash from press freedom organizations, lawmakers, and the public, none of which happened. Trevor Noah, meanwhile, hosted The Daily Show on Comedy Central, a network owned by Paramount Global, not Disney. So any claim that Trump pressured Disney to censor Noah is factually incorrect on multiple levels. What is true is that Trump often reacted to satire with disproportionate outrage, using social media to amplify his anger and rally his base. His attacks on Kimmel and Noah were part of a broader pattern, delegitimizing criticism by labeling it fake news or unfair, especially when it came from comedians who could not be sued or silenced. Comedians like Kimmel and Noah have openly discussed this dynamic. Kimmel once joked, "Trump says I should be canceled, but he watches me every night. He's my most loyal viewer." Noah has noted, "The more he attacks us, the more people watch, so thank you, Mr. President, for the free promotion." In reality, Trump didn't censor anyone. He simply gave comedians endless material, and in the court of public opinion, the punchlines won every time. Hope you enjoy the video, and please do not forget to subscribe to the channel.